Hello, and welcome to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. This program is all about providing leaders and managers with meaningful insights on how to optimize business results by aligning their people strategy to their business strategy. Our goal is to support you as you rise to the challenges of complex decision-making centered around attracting and retaining top talent.
All right, I think this should be up and running now. I think we should be good. We think we should be cooking with grease from
As
what I'm
of
seeing
here,
here.
are you hearing us, Sasha? Can you hear us? Give a
It's gonna
thumbs
be
up.
there's gonna be a delay in terms of the time it takes for her to come on.
Okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to just let's just go back over that part
Mhm.
first because I think you just dropped a really good point a while ago.
And that's
I think the question that we asked up top really had to do with those individuals who would have been born confident. Is it something that's nurtured or is it part of nature? Like,
so.
what's the difference?
I think both can be attributed to it because you have persons who, based on your bringing in terms of your family setting, you have some persons based on your natural your personality. You may be a shy person, you may be quiet, but not because you're quiet doesn't mean that you're not confident. Because sometimes we misconstrue the fact that because somebody's quiet or somebody's not that talkative that they're not confident. You have some people who
That's true.
who have a sense of, I call it relaxed confidence, whereby they're relaxed about what they know, but when the time comes, they're ready for the game. And then you have some folks, they're naturally shy, but based on their surrounding, based on their parenting, based on their community, based on the expectations that are placed on them, they would have gone on that path that would have lead them along a place whereby they recognize the need to be more forthright, the need to be more assertive, and in essence, the need to exercise a greater sense of confidence. Even though if you ask them questions and say, hey, I was really nervous, but they learn that it's an important trait or skill to have as you navigate your relationships, as you navigate challenging moments, as you strive to represent or present yourself as meaningful in the presence of others, that being confident and displaying a sense of confidence is important.
Excellent. And one of the things that we talked about, just it's funny because you set it up well. We talked about the difference between being arrogant and being confident. I think sometimes there's a very fine line. There are certain behaviors that are confident behaviors that definitely can be perceived as arrogant behavior, whereas there are others that are just straight up confidence. What is the difference? What would you say if I'm looking on at my leader and I see certain behaviors? What should I use to determine whether this person is straight up arrogant or they're just a confident person?
But I say, self-confidence has it focuses on, it has to do with you having a sense of belief in your strengths and understanding also your weaknesses, and being willing to stand up for what you believe in or what you're trying to do, even if others don't believe in you. That's just understanding who you are and being willing to represent you and have a willingness to represent yourself. While arrogance has to do with the same thing, but an exaggerated belief in oneself and a willingness to prove yourself and prove yourself to others, and that comes across with ego. And instead of looking to improve based on confidence, you're looking to prove, meaning that you're fixed on who you are and what you're capable of doing, as opposed to fixed on the impact that you can have, and the fact that the confidence should serve as a pull factor, pulling others to you, as opposed to pushing others. So, and as you your own person sometimes, and a leader, you're like, wow, that leader is so confident, I want to spend some time with him. And then you're like, wow, that guy's so arrogant, I hate it when he walks in the room, he extracts all the oxygen from the room. And that gives you a picture in terms of the difference between confidence and arrogance, because one pulls you to the person and one pushes you away from the person.
Wow. Hear that, people? So if you find yourself like what's her name, Sandra Bullock, when she walked onto the scene in that you remember that scene in the proposal, you talked about it in your book, when she walked onto the floor, everybody just scattered. You have to be mindful of whether when you enter the room, people are trying to get as far away from you as possible or they're trying to get close. Confident is like a magnet that pulls you in, whereas arrogance repulses people. And maybe people will spend time around you, Jamie, when you're an arrogant leader, because they have to, right? They're required to, but you don't want them to be there just based on the fact that they're obligated to be there, right? So let's talk a little bit more about the book. You wrote about Floyd Mayweather. One of the things that you said that I really liked about him, and that quote that you made, was that he said that I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
But I'm a knife and I'm in the drawer, and I'm pretty sharp.
And I'm pretty sharp.
So, wow, every time I remember listening to that video for the first time when I was writing the book, and I'm like, I have to put this in the book, because that was just well said. Most times we're so focused on what others are capable of doing, we miss out on what we were made to do. So what happened is that you may be a fighter, or you may be a writer, you may be an artist, or you may be leading a team, but sometimes you're so focused on the next person who's leading their team, and you're focused on what they're capable of doing, to the point where you lose sight of what you're capable of doing, and you spend the time trying to become that person, and you miss it on what you can do. And because you're striving to be somebody else, you cannot be confident in their level of creativity, and you miss it on what you're capable of doing. And that it's almost like your confidence, you're deflated when that happens, because you're striving for something that you're not, and you miss out on that which you are.
There's just so much that you just said there a while ago that I really want to unpack, because I think that insecurity that you're talking about, it's almost like when you measure yourself against somebody else, if I'm understanding what you're saying, because in the statement that Floyd made, it's almost like I have to be comfortable in who I am, right? And that speaks to self-awareness. Can you talk a little bit more about that, in terms of how self-awareness helps to build confidence?
When you're aware of who you are, you automatically recognize or identify your strengths and your weaknesses. When you identify your strengths and your weaknesses, it allows you to know exactly what areas of your life you need to celebrate, what parts of your leadership you know that you're good at. So it makes it easy for you to celebrate others, because those areas you're not the strongest person in those areas. So when you have that level of awareness, what happens now is that you will not be dwelling on what others are good at, but you're dwelling on the thing that you're great at. And then it would be easy for you to delegate to others and things that they can do a great job at, as opposed to you trying to do something that you're not the best person in terms of doing. So self-awareness, it plays a critical role in terms of how we not only acknowledge where we are, but also acknowledge where we should be going and the kind of people that we want around us. And now when you do that, now you can confidently walk out and saying that I'm not the best speaker, but I'm good at writing.
I'm good at writing.
Yeah, I'm not the best. If you're playing basketball, I'm best at passing. I may not be the best in terms of taking the 3-point shot, and that's okay. So what happens now is that you will find yourself working more to improve on the areas that you're already strong at, as opposed to trying to adopt a skill that you were not made mechanically. You were not designed. It's like me trying to be an NBA player. It's easier for me to be a horse race, a jockey or something of that sort. You think about Shaq trying to be to race horses. He's too big for horses. But if you identify what you're good at and what you're made for, then it makes it easy for you to celebrate others. And that's being confident. When you can acknowledge that these are areas that I'm not good at, and say that you're better in those areas, and then guess what? People will celebrate you for the confidence that you displayed in even the area that you're not the best person at.
Wow. I want you to speak to it for me just a little bit, because in the book you mentioned it. And by the way, guys, we are actually talking about leadership confidence, cultivating leadership confidence. And Jamie speaks about that specific topic in his book called The Face of Leadership. If you have not yet done so, go ahead and get your copy of The Face of Leadership. And Jamie, one of the things that you did in the book when you were talking about confidence is that you made a specific distinction between general and specific self-confidence. And I do believe that that's relevant in terms of what you're talking about right now, because on the one hand, general self-confidence helps in terms of, there's some things that you're good at. You don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time on those things. But then there are things when it comes down to your specific self-confidence, is things that you need to develop. So talk about that a little bit more.
So general self-confidence is just believing in yourself as a person. I believe that I am Jamie Pottinger, and I believe that when I show up for this interview, for this podcast, it's me. You'll be getting the full, unadulterated, authentic me. That's me just having a general confidence in myself as a person, as a human being, as a living being, and as a person. I'm going to walk and I'm going to confidently introduce myself. I'm Jamie Pottinger. No, specific confidence has to do with when you have a level of confidence in specific skills or specific areas. For example, you'll be like, you know what, I'm inviting everybody over for dinner because I know that I'm the best at my mac and cheese. I'm the best at my jerk chicken. I'm the best at my ginger beer, because you have a specific an understanding that these specific areas, I am the master at these areas. So you have some people who they have specific confidence, but they don't have general confidence. No, it's okay to have to have a specific area that you're confident in, but if you don't have general confidence, sometimes the lack of having a general confidence in yourself as a person overshadows the specific confidence, because you have to show up as a human being and then show up in that area in terms of your giftedness, your skill set. So when people ask me when I'm doing sessions and stuff, Jamie, I'd like for you to break it down Sesame Street style for me. I'm saying that you have to show up as your full authentic self. And then now, when you get an opportunity to share area that you know that this is your giftedness, then that's when you say, okay, I am the best at making the mac and cheese pie. Or guess what? I'm the best at speaking. I'm the best DJ in the business, because that's where my giftedness is. So when you think about general and specific confidence, while they're different, I think they go hand in hand in terms of you navigating the path, in terms of leadership. And as we say, leadership is really leading up, leading down, leading across, and most importantly, leading yourself.
Excellent. And I think one of the things that I'm getting from what you are talking about, you can become more confident as you learn to develop on those specific confidence that you have for whatever task. So if cooking is my thing, I can translate the same confidence that I bring to the table in terms of that to other areas of my life. Is that what I'm gathering from what you're saying?
That's it. And when you think about, because we're having a leadership conversation here, is that, when you think about leaders and the level of confidence that they exude in their offices, when they're leading teams, that they're leading projects, no matter how gifted you are as a leader, no matter how much specific self-confidence that you have, you will face projects that when you look at all the areas or all the key performance indicators, the things that you be judged on, you recognize that none of those areas are your strongest point. So you have to now rely on the areas that you're strong at and use that as the building board for you to get stronger in other areas. It means then that you have to show up with general confidence.
Yeah.
Think about you being a project manager. As a project manager, you may be taking on a project that has nothing to do with your specific skill set.
Right.
But when you show up in that room with confidence as a human being, ready to lead people who are more gifted in those areas and more talented, if they don't sense that level of confidence in you as a human being, it's going to be hard for you to tell them to do something that they have greater expertise in than you do. But when they recognize that you're confident, they'll be taking the lead from you, even though they know that you're expecting of them delivery or production, because they look at you as somebody who believe in yourself, Shauna K. Chambers Pottinger, as a human being. And I'm showing up because I'm so confident that I'm even going to be confident in what you're capable of doing. And many times leaders lose out on that because they don't have the specific confidence in that area. They end up chipping in with arrogance because of their position, and they miss out on the opportunity to use their confidence as a human being to drive others who have specific confidence in certain areas.
Wow. Guys, I think this is a very important subject matter, because there are many leaders, I believe, who really try to become a specialist in everything just so that they are not necessarily coming off as, oh, I don't know this. And one of the things you talked about in the book, and I wanted to just build on that a little bit more in this conversation, is that a confident person knows when to say something like, that's not my expertise. Like you're willing to own up to the fact that I'm wrong. I messed up in this area. Talk about insecure leaders and what that does to a team that has to work with people who do not want to admit when they make a mistake and so on. Talk about that for a little bit.
So when a leader has the confidence to share that this is an area that is not their strongest area, what it does, it allows business to move on much faster. When you fake where you are, or when you allow arrogance or your position to dictate how you share, what happens is that the help or the support that you'd have gotten from your team, you no longer get that help. Because if you're not sharing with your team that this is something that I'm not good at, then your team if you're sharing that, okay, I can do this, when really and truly you're not
You
a
can.
specialist, then your team will be watching you closely. And then the minute they recognize fully that you can't do it, they lose trust. And once they lose trust, then they will not follow you. And if they're not following you, that it means that your project or your productivity will go all the way down to zero. So as a leader, you have to be open. The insecure, being insecure, and if I should say that you'll never ever be insecure, I'd be lying. As human beings, we all have areas that we exhibit a greater level of insecurity when it comes on to who we are, where we're from, or we're capable of doing. But what we need to do is that if we take the in of security and we invest security in others who have a greater sense of security in certain areas, then what automatically happens is that they now feel secure with their level of skill set in the fact that you have now invested in them. Because think about it this way. If you have a team, most likely the reason why you're chosen as the leader is because whoever deemed it fitting to choose you is because they want you to lead people. And they want you to lead people not because they think that you're better than those who you're leading, but they understand that you are willing to invest in the expertise of others who are smarter than you are to take you and the team or the company to places that you by yourself would not have been able to do.
That's such a powerful point that you just made, because a lot of people misinterpret being in a leadership position as them being that person, like they're the ones who are the star player on the team, who, when everybody else fails, you're there to pick up all the pieces. But in truth and in fact, the true mettle of a leader is tested in how they're able to influence and bring others along that journey.
Is it, as you make mention, as you go back in the book, we talked about what are some of the impacts of having a low sense of self-confidence. Is that what happens? It creates insecurity, as you made mention before, a lack of trust. Not only a lack of trust, but a reduced levels of productivity. The reason why that happens is that when you are insecure about how you lead, then it makes it difficult for you to follow. Not because you're leading, that doesn't put you in a position where you can't follow, but confidence. When you're confident about a project, about an idea, about a direction, you are now confident to employ others who have even a greater vision than you have.
Wow.
Because you're not expecting somebody to take you to where you are. You're expecting somebody to take you beyond where
yes.
you are. So, but when you invest confidence in these persons, they now feel as if you have empowered them. And when you empower people, they operate from a place of urgency. And that urgency sparks others. And now all they're looking to you for is guidance. You notice I didn't say that they're looking to you for expertise, guidance. And once you're getting the guidance and the support, then you'll get way more than what you have invested in them. And that's how important confidence is as a leader, as you lead people, as you lead projects, and as you lead yourself.
You know, guys, we've had a very great discussion so far about confidence, and I hope that you guys are taking notes. As leaders, it is very important for us to show up in a room confidently. And some of the things that you talked about in the book, Jamie, really centers around body language. You talked about the way we dress, the way we speak. If I'm a person who's just been appointed to a leadership position and I don't know how to cultivate that confidence, do you have any recommendations on how I could do this? I know some people talk about mentorship, reading good books, and so on. How can I cultivate self-confidence so that I show up in that room quite confident as a leader in who I am and my own abilities?
I think the first thing you have to do is that you have to focus on the areas that you know that you're good at. You may ask me, Jamie, what if I don't know the area that I'm good at? Then it's your responsibility to connect with persons who are close to you, who will remind you that these are some areas that you have exercised great strength in, and these are some wins that you have experienced. These are some things that you have impacted positively. Now, when you'd have been reminded of those things, you keep those things at the forefront of your mind. And the reason why that's important is that most times when you find yourself in certain spaces or certain meetings or certain teams, the first thing that people do, they're sizing each other up. Not only are they sizing each other up, but people are trying to secure their position. And people do that by competing. So, but when people are competing, if you are not certain about yourself, what will happen is that you will shrink under the pressure of the energy that they take into that room. And when the time is right for you to share who you are, you feel as if you're the least counted in that room. So you have to be reminded of the areas that you're good at. And after being reminded of those areas, you have to recognize that those abilities are abilities that you have to develop. Because not because you possess certain skills or certain talent, those only take you in the room. If you want to stay in the room, if you want to have the impact, the influence, and the transformative charm about how you do things, you have to be on a path where you're constantly improving. Because not because you're good at something means that you're the solution for everything. So being good at something will allow persons to get a glimpse of what you're capable of doing. But the real price comes when things get tough and you're expected to stand on what you believe in. And as a leader, you have to be on that bill at all times, always growing, always improving, and always acquiring new skills. Because you may be good at a given thing, but there's several different facets or different angles that one thing could go. So you have to be developing in that area, and also securing support, securing a network of people who will remind you of who you are and also push you to becoming better at what you do.
So we need a fan club, guys. You hear that, Jimmy? You heard it here first. You need to have a few people in your corner, some cheerleaders who are constantly telling you that you're doing a good job. And also, I do believe that, as a leader, it's very important for you to stay grounded, right? You should always have at least one or two people that you can accept the truth from. Sometimes there are individuals who will criticize you, and they don't mean you much good in terms of your work, and that can cut your confidence a great deal. But I do believe, Jamie, that it's important that you have a few people in your life, like you have me to do that for you, right? You need a few people who can literally tell you that, Jamie, what you just did a while ago was a whole bunch of nothing. And I've seen you done better. Things like those. So you can actually take that kind of feedback and do better for the next time around. What do you think about that, Jamie?
I think about that. I think we use the word feedback, and people would say feed forward, but you need persons who can give you the honest account in terms of where you are, because the thing about this is that your confidence in a given area would have allowed you to be recognized as the greatest last week. What you did last week will not guarantee you the same platform next week.
Hear that, guys?
And having the right circle or the right people around, they'll ensure that your platform is always expanding. If you don't have the right people around, your platform will continue to shrink.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you become irrelevant, and you'll find yourself searching or fighting for relevance, when what you should really be doing is developing yourself and having the right people around you who are reminding you of the areas that you're strong at, and reminding you of the areas that those are not your sweet spots. If you have to do them, fine, but those are not the areas that you should go on a limb and try to make a living off.
Wow, powerful. And we have some nice things going on in the chat here. See, Patrice is on here. Welcome, Patrice. We're so happy that you're joining us, and can't wait to have you back on the podcast. We love you and we appreciate you. And then here we have also Trisha. Trisha said you need a fan club. Yeah, and I'm your number one fan, Trisha. Patrice is just emphasizing that point you made about not because you're good at something means that you're the solution for everything. And that's such an important part. Jamie, before we leave, I wanted to just give you a few seconds to just drop some soundbites on somebody out there who's listening. This person in the past has struggled with their self-confidence. This person feels like they just don't know how to show up in a room confidently. Right now, I want you to look into that camera and talk to that person. Help them in terms of the next steps. Where do they go from here in building self-confidence?
Well, what I like to share first is that, it's not a crime, or you're not the only person if you're in that position where you're not feeling confident. I've done a number of things that I think I did a great job at. And there are times when other things are happening in your life that ebbs away at your level of confidence. But I am constantly reminded of the things that I'm good at. And I have a circle. I share this all the time. You need a circle, an inner circle that is always there to support you. You need that honest feedback, people who share exactly what you're doing well at and stuff that you need to improve and how you need to change the path that you're on. And just remember this, that, many times you ask yourself the question, why am I not getting the promotion that I need at work? Why is it that I'm not chosen for this project? It's because of how you show up for that project, how you show up on a daily basis when you're having conversations, when you're at your team meetings, how you sit. I know Shauna asked me a question earlier, and as I'm thinking back, I didn't quite answer that question, but how you stand, how you sit, how you speak, your posture. When you're at the table, do you slouch over in terms of having conversation? When you're speaking, do you speak with a strong voice? Do you speak with a relaxed manner that, guess what, I know what I'm about? Am I rushing? Am I itching my palm? Am I doing things that send the message that I don't want to be in this space? Sometimes people look at us and they say that, oh, somebody must have paid him a lot and have threatened him for him to turn up for this engagement. And once that happens, it means that they're saying you don't want to be here. So how you operate in every given space sends a message about your self-confidence. And I'm saying that ask for feedback. Ask people exactly. You saw me in that space. You heard me in that meeting. Mm-hmm. You watched me as I was walking, as I was entering the room. How did I come across? Did you view me as somebody who you'd want to listen to? Did I inspire you when I speak? And you have to be willing to take that honest feedback. And then now you have to get to work. Getting to work means that you have to identify the areas that you're strong at. You have to look to improve those areas, the areas that you're weak at. You have to find somebody who have mastered those areas, and after you'd have located such a person, then you allow them to mentor you into becoming that person that you'll be proud of every time that you show up. And you show up with that level of confidence, and I guarantee you that it will change the way people view you, and the level of results that you secure in your endeavors will be transformed. And you'll have a greater sense of fulfillment every time you show up, no matter what it is. It may be a simple relationship, it may be a simple meeting, whatever it is, you will find yourself in a better position in terms of how you show up.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Guys, we've spent a good little bit together, and I think this was a great conversation. And a great starting point when it comes on to the topic of cultivating confidence in leadership, or cultivating leadership confidence. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for this, our first in a long time of episode of the Strategic Alignment Podcast. Thank you for joining us. I want you to go ahead and share this feed with anyone you know could benefit from this, the information that was shared here today. We also want to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. We will be coming out with a little bit more of a consistent schedule as we move into the spring. And so we're hoping that you will come along with us along that journey. Again, thank you for joining us for the Strategic Alignment Podcast, and everything that you heard here today. It's all in this book, The Face of Leadership, a framework for strong and effective leaders. And this is actually written by Mr. Jamie Pottinger, CEO of Pottinger & Associates Consulting. Yes, go ahead and share this podcast with everyone you know, because everybody can benefit from confidence. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week, same time. All the best.
Thank you for listening to the Strategic Alignment Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to our podcast by visiting our website at www.pottingerandassociatesconsulting.com.